what do we want to call this? Just a specific look at what we churn out as a report for our athletes in gym, remote, so forth, and then you guys will kind of go through it and I'll ask some. I'll either ask some questions or crack some jokes. But
yeah, so I think we haven't done it before. Definitely on the podcast. I think that there's some content out there about our biomechanics report. It's basically just gonna be like an applied biomechanics section. How we actually like use the biomechanics report, walking through it, some things that we look for, a little bit of a taste, and then maybe getting into later on we could do like full on segments and breakdowns and comparisons. Quick screen share here. I do not have sharing abilities.
Let me check. Do you know how to?
I'm not sure who the host is. Oh, I'm the host now. Let's go. I can share.
I'm not sure who the host is. Blowing smoke.
What's
Do you
up?
know?
Can you guys see this?
Yeah, boy.
Okay, so I got Visual 3D Professional pulled up right now. This is an athlete. Their mechanics from, I believe this athlete mocapped on the 14th. So
yeah,
last Sunday.
I mean, I'm fine with telling people if you are. I'm fine with admitting that's me. That's my skeleton out there.
This is 100% not Alex Caravan. This throw specifically was 87.7. I'll put $500 down right now that you'll never throw a baseball 87.7 miles an hour off of a mound.
$500 that I'll never throw 87.7.
5-ounce baseball off of the mound right now.
Like I have the rest of my life to do it.
Yeah, rest of your life to do it.
Well, let's do a cutoff because I ain't throwing it like past 45. Or I mean, really, I'm not throwing it past like. Nah. How about $500 on Lindley? What's your PR? Like 84?
83.6.
83.6?
No, I think 83.8.
All right, how about $500 on 83.8?
No.
And I have a decade to do it.
No, I think that's doable.
Okay, man, we still have to start. When I get back, we got to start playing catch immediately so I can.
Yeah, bro. I was down to play catch and you disappeared to Sacramento like 2 days after we went out to Rubens.
I'll do $100. I'll do $100 on 85. And I'll do $500 on 87.7.
No, I mean I don't think I'm reaching 87.7 either. I think I have a chance to catch Lindley's PR.
I'll just do the 5. I'll just open the door 500. There's no like lose here. Just like if you do it, I'll give you 500.
Oh, okay. Word.
87.7.
Motivation to train.
I'll give you 500 if you hit triple digits.
Off a mound.
5-ounce baseball. So we both got some long shot motivations. Let's go, dog.
Mine is way more of a long shot than yours. What?
I don't know,
That's
bro.
how you look at it.
Okay.
Brady's about to run off out of the podcast studio right now and start training.
We're gonna cut this short. I gotta go throw right now.
Throwing plyos in the pool.
Okay. So this is an athlete from Arizona, 87.7 miles an hour. We collect biomechanical data on a couple throws, get some averages. This is what happens when we have the motion capture lab set up. We apply all the markers to like various anatomical landmarks, recreating joint segments, joint centers, and then from there we use Visual 3D to process all of that data. And that recreates this. In this case, for visual purposes, it's a skeleton. But if we wanted to, we could remove the skeleton. Oh, scapulars are still there. But really, we're just creating stick figures to measure cylinders, the angles between segments. Oh, you want the
cones?
You want the segment geometry?
Yeah.
I always think that one looks weird. But yeah, so we're trying to recreate the segments of the body to calculate the angles. From there, you're able to get angular velocities, accelerations, and then actually these segments are a good indication of estimates for MOIs for the mass moment of inertia to then quantify things like kinetics, forces, torques, all of that. So.
And go back from the beginning where the guy's first kind of moving forward. So a question kind of I think I kind of know the answer to this, so the Z, X, and Y coordinates, are they set from just where his back foot is, or is that like just always set from the same spot on the mound?
So this is a ground plane. The ground plane sets the orientation of the lab, so it could be variable throughout where they start. So we calculate.
I got 10 minutes
off of the ground plane. So that changes throughout. But because we have the data, I mean, we can find out what this position is, and then like understand, stride length, stride direction.
And what's the green, orange, red kind of color coding of the arm as it goes through the throwing motion?
We just mapped signal values to the segments, which you could do for anything. Like in the past, we've done it to show sequencing, but for this is the kinetic values. So these are the joint moments. This is the shoulder internal rotation moment mapped to the humerus, and then on the forearm you have elbow varus moment. And so you can just see where the peak amount of stress experienced in the throw is, which is like that maximum layback when the arm goes from like decelerates out of layback or accelerates out of layback into release. So that's kind of just the visual portion, but the real
before you go to the report, can you go to some of the events? So like we break it up into different events so we can create metrics and like compare people as well.
So we've got the events right here. We can see this is the point of max hip shoulder separation, lead knee height max. But the main ones, at least for like points of interest, are going to be foot plant. So positional metrics where the athlete is at foot plant. We have maximum external rotation, and then we also have like maximum elbow extension velocity. Ball release is right here. Maximum internal rotation. So that's going to be like the end range of motion of that. We've just got various points of interest that we can then compare on a like discrete metric basis across people.
And do you guys, because we obviously have like the PDF report and other outputs we give to the athletes, how often do you guys sit down and kind of like show this to an athlete? Or do you ever do that, or just mostly for trainers?
Every time now.
Every time you're able to whip it up in Visual 3D and kind of take them through their motion?
Not me personally. That was kind of the thing we set up last winter, because Visual 3D has a free version, and also like we've made some past study data publicly available. So if you download the free version of Visual 3D, you can pull up any of our CMZs from those studies.
So if I was an athlete,
our trainers have access to all of our CMZ files of the biomechanics report. So every trainer has access to exactly what I'm showing right now in the free version of Visual 3D that they pull up during the biomechanics meeting with the athlete.
And if you're down like for a quick minute or 2 minutes demo, say I am this athlete, which I am, but say I am this athlete, and then you're one of the trainers, you're taking me through it. What kind of intro or what kind of initial general thoughts are you kind of explaining to me?
So this is actually a unique one where this athlete actually has had 2 other biomechanics reports with us. I'm nearly positive. It might just be one of them being last year.
No, I have.
In gym. So in that event, we'd probably start with, what changed, that kind of thing. But if this was their first biomechanics report, first of all, it's an overview of like what happens, which is like, hey, biomechanics, we're recreating this 3D model, and we're trying to show you what your mechanics look like in space. The value here is that we can look at you from like any angle, whatever we want to do, as you're going through the throwing. As far as giving them something like tangible mechanically that we work on, we would start with our like notes and drill scores and prescriptions and like flagged variables based on the bucket system that we talked about before, and getting into the report. Like the numbers are a lot easier to be like, okay, here's where you are, and kind of like what can change, kind of a thing. I think the report is going to give the best picture of that. So we go over like all of this tabular data, what's good, what's bad, how these graphs kind of look, how they should look. But I think the easiest tangible piece for the athlete across the board is always going to be these overlaid signals within the report. And this is the signals mapped against the averages of the hard throwers in our data set. So basically anyone that's come through and was 88 plus, you can see where your elbow flexion signal looks like throughout the throw compared to everyone else. So like here's a good example of like this athlete is doing what most of the throwers are doing. He's actually creating more shoulder horizontal abduction into foot plant out of it, which is pretty tight. That's a big marker that we look for. This athlete, this throw specifically was 88.4. I want to say the average across the board was 88.07. So he would actually be an athlete that would be added in to this of the 88 plus, which is good. That's what we'd expect. We would hope that his throwing mechanics would map similarly. If there was an athlete that wasn't able to create the same metrics and positions, it would be shown here. And I think there's actually one. If you look at hip shoulder separation, you know, his is dipping down a little earlier. And one of the buckets reports notes that actually showed up was how there was a good amount of counter rotation, like torso and pelvis angles were looking pretty good, but timing was a little inefficient and had some room to improve. I think the pelvis was rotating a bit late when we look at kinematic sequencing. So looking at the order of the kinetic chain kind of sequencing rotationally, this peak pelvis rotation is happening a little too late in the throw. And that was kind of the only like flag or knock that we had on this athlete. Ideally, we'd be seeing it a little earlier. And during the meeting, it's like pretty common to pull up, you know, past reports, examples of like what looks good. Like pretty fortunate that we have so many like 95 plus throwers in the database with mechanics that work well within this model to show them like, oh, you know, you should be doing something like this, that kind of a thing. So you get this report, which you get walked through with the meeting, as well as some additional like supplemental notes in track, and then also drill scores and programming built around the efficiencies, inefficiencies, all of that.
And why do you have two max external rotation markers there? The two orange lines.
Where's that?
Or you have what do you have multiple? Aren't the orange vertical lines the MER?
Are you saying here?
No, on the graph.
Here. Oh, because it's 3 throws in this.
Oh, yeah, right.
Thing.
Okay.
So this is the average signal, and then everything is synced to foot plant as far as the graphs go. But then it looks like, there was one throw where he experienced MER just a little bit later.
Between foot plant and ball release, right? Yeah. Like, so the two endpoints are set, and then the things in between are kind of variable based on.
Yeah, so you can see on this one, there was actually like a bit of variability in MER for this graph. 3 different points of MER.
One interesting thing to me on the arm action graph, and you saw it even on the hip shoulder separation graph on the full signal ones when you're comparing to the control, you could see the like how the various metrics like change in variabilities or like variance between guys. So like the horizontal abduction in the elite throwing group, like within one wide standard variance, deviation below the average, it's like, I don't know, like within 2 standard deviations, there's like 30 degrees of difference there, which is pretty crazy. For
and then it seems like it consolidates at max external rotation too.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah, and then the same kind of with hip shoulder separation. So it's kind of interesting to see how the different how like throwing hard can be created differently with different like metrics.
Oh, yeah.
So like pelvis angle and torso angle are pretty consistent, but then hip shoulder separation, which I assuming is just due to timing, is more variable.
Yeah. And we'll throw this segment up on YouTube. TBD on including an audio section.
Yep.
If we do include it on the audio section and you hate it, let us know.
Yeah.
Our DMs are always open. Drop some reviews, that kind of stuff. But yeah, we'll have some new presentation styles for the podcast going forward. But
that'll 20. That'll wrap it. Hopefully, new changes, and exciting updates coming to the Driveline R&D podcast.
Yeah.